Hello, spring football fans. What a UFL championship. DC fans, we did it. We did it. From the bitter taste of 2023 to victory this time, it is very sweet. I am proud of my DC Defenders. And for all the accolades that Bryce Perkins got, you know, the offensive MVP, the offensive player of the year, quarterback number one in the all UFL team. At the end of the day, it was Jordan Taylor that got the two most important awards, the MVP of the championship game and the UFL trophy. And the Washington, D.C. has their first football championship since the Redskins won, was it back in 1990 under the Gibbs, Mark Rippon one-year wonder era. And listen, and Bryce Perkins' defense, he was good today. 21 of 35, 338 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, and 1 terrible interception. That was a big play of the game. Now, coming to the game, I said I thought the team that would run the ball the best and had the most, or the least amount of turnovers would win the game. That's exactly what happened. Now, Michigan did run for over 100 yards rushing. They were 104. DC rushed for 190. Now, granted, they used the passing game to really open things up for the running game. And, of course, there were 2 big turnovers in the game, both in DC's favor. Both led to points. Okay, so when the DC took the lead 15-13 in the ensuing kickoff, there was a fumble. They recovered. They scored. They scored 6 more points. Coming out of the second half, Bryce Perkins desperately trying to make things happen. Throws it back pit. Led to more scoring for DC. And DC wins the UFL championship 58-34. This is the most points scored in UFL history, 92 points. And what a day and what a game for that to happen. The over and under was 52.5 and DC had 58 alone. Altogether, over 1,000 yards in total offense. 580 yards for DC, 434 yards for Michigan. So I was right. The fact that the team was going to run the ball the best and turnovers was going to make a difference, and it did. And for Michigan, Michigan, oh yeah, you knew what to get out of Michigan. Like I said, they were a straight line. You knew what you were getting from Michigan all year. And I said in week 6, Michigan probably played its best game of the year against my DC Defenders when they won 38-14, I believe it was. And I said that my DC Defenders played their worst game of the year when they lost to Michigan Panthers. I said last week, I've been saying for weeks, DC is a very Jekyll and Hyde team. And that's how they won today. Because as I said about their defense, when their defense shuts you down, they win a low-scoring game because their offense cannot score in the red zone, even though they run up and down the field all day. And on the days where they give a lot of points, a lot of yards, like today they did, it was mostly famine in their defense. Their offense was awesome. And if you look down the stats of the game, total yards 580 to 434 in favor of DC. Passing yards 390 to 338 in favor of DC. Rushing yards 190 to 104 in favor of DC. DC did have more penalties. First down, here's a big one. 27 to 19 in favor of DC. DC was 50% on third downs. Michigan was 30%. Fourth downs, DC hit both of them. Michigan was 0 for 1. Total plays, 64-55. Red zone, here we go. The DC defense was 6 of 7. You're not going to lose games like that. Michigan was 1-1. Time possession, 32.5 to 27.5 in favor of DC. Turnovers, DC got both the big turnovers. Fumbles lost, 3-0 for DC, 2-1 for Michigan. And it was just that type of game. As I said, Bryce Perkins had a very good game. But Jordan Taylor was just that much more awesome. As I said, Perkins might have gotten all the postseason awards, but Jordan Taylor got the two most important ones. And Jordan Taylor was 21 of 28 for 380 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, and a 2-point conversion. His rating was 156.3. Bryce Perkins' rating was 118.5, so like I said, he had a good game. Running ball, Abram Smith, 10 of 63. Chris Rowland had 6 for 53. Deion Jackson, 11 for 46. And Tiamu also had 28 yards rushing himself. Toa Tua and Nate McCrary combined for a 96 yards. Bryce Perkins added 8. Now on the receiving end, Jaden Mickens, 6 catches, 132 yards, 1 touchdown. Ty Scott, 1 catch for 73 yards at the end of the first half for a touchdown. I mean, he distributed the ball evenly throughout. Chris Rowland, 5 catches, 45 yards. Braylon Sanders, 3 catches, 41 yards. Cornell Powell, 2 catches, 26 yards. This was a DC onslaught. And good job for Shannon Harris. I mean, to become the coach 1 week before the season starts and lose your defensive coach and lose this and so many questions come to the league. And I think Vegas had them number 5 on the list to win the championship this year. DC finished the year at 8-4. Michigan finished the year at 7-5. And if you're a Michigan Panther fan, listen, yeah, a lot to cheer about this year. You finally got over the Birmingham hump. You made it to the championship game. You have your quarterback at Bryce Perkins. The question is, with his success, will he be back next year? Or will he be in the NFL? And listen, you could say that maybe they say the same for Jordan Taylor. With his exposure in his league for the last 3 years, will he be in the NFL next year and not be with the DC Defenders? Selfishly, I hope they both come back to their respective teams. For the sake of the league, if they make it in the NFL, that speaks very well for the league, and then we can recruit new quarterbacks. And listen, not to get lost in the mix is Oliver Luck. Remember, back in 2020, Oliver Luck appointed quarterbacks to the teams of the league that year. And one of them, Jordan Taylor. He went to the St. Louis Battle Hawks. To Jonathan Hayes. He was a fresh out of Ole Miss. And of course, he played 1 year for them. He's played 3 for DC. He played a year with the Tampa Bay Bandits in the USFL. And listen, we may call Luis Perez the king of spring football. Right behind him is Jordan Taylor. So thank you, Oliver Luck. The Oliver Luck effect was even in this game still. And for DC, like I said, they were Jekyll and Hyde all year, and that's how they won this championship. I said it last week. Their best game the DC Defenders played all year, and the most complete game was last week against the Battlehawks in that conference championship game, because their defense was smoking and their offense was just as good. In fact, the 2 best games they played all year were against the Battlehawks, both times in the Dome. And hey, they were 3-0 at the Dome of America this year, 2 against the Battlehawks, and of course tonight's championship game. So the DC Defenders are now your champions of the UFL. I don't have to hear about the Birmingham Stallions next year for a while. I'm sure the Stallions fans will be back next year. As far as the halftime show, the Black Moots, I never heard of them. I'm not in the halftime shows anyway. For me, it's time to use the bathroom and fill up on food, and pretty much that's what I did. The pregame national anthem, very Jimi Hendrix-like. I'm trying to remember the person's name. Doesn't matter. Very well done. The crowd, 14,599 was the announced crowd. There weren't that many people there. Good job on the Michigan fans that did show up there, as well as the DC fans, because there were plenty that did show up for both teams. So, Defender fans, I'm looking forward to the ceremony next year at Audi Field. Hopefully, I get to go to a game next year. This year, unfortunately, was the first year I could not attend a game. Life gets in the way. But live it up, DC fans. We're the spring football champs. Alright, everyone. Comments down below. What's your opinion like to know? We'll discuss other matters of the league on another time. Tonight, it's about the championship game. It's about the DC Defenders. And next week, we'll look forward to talking about what happens in the year 2026. Of course, no announcement at halftime about expansion. I didn't think that was happening. Just as well. That's a subject for later on. We'll have all season talk about it. But fans, let me know what you thought about the game below. If you're a Michigan fan, DC fan, or if you're a fan of the other 6 teams just watching, or if you're just watching because you just happen to come across the game tonight. In competition of the Stanley Cup, which, by the way, the Panthers are now up 3-2. So, I think the rating should be pretty good for this game. It was on ABC. They've been consistently getting the best ratings all year of all the networks. This was a championship game in prime time. And ABC has a big advantage over the TNT network, which is where the Stanley Cup was being played. So, overall, I said this would be better than last year's crappy UFL game. The bar was set very low. And for the first half, it was. It was a pretty good game. It got a little out of hand into the first half with that turnover. And the second half was all DC. So put your comments down below. For the love of football, we'll talk to you during the week about the rating for the football game. Of course, we will name the Sportsman of the Year, which is named already. We'll talk about that later also. We'll talk about what's going to happen next year and your thoughts. All right, fans, this is it. Game 43 of 43 is in the books. We have a new champion. And I wish all of you a very good night, and we'll probably see you next year.